horse drifted alarmingly in the betting, was, fancied in the morning, continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and a big warm welcome to the Barstewers Inquiry Sunday Sermon. This is an absolute bonanza of a sermon we've got for you this evening. Myself, John and Chris going to be going through some absolute ballistic topics. Your questions have been in abundance, and also we're covering off the review of this weekend in Ireland and the shit show of various jockeys, etc., etc. Nothing has been left unturned. I'm going to make sure it's a crackerjack for your listening. So, John and Chris, good evening, chaps. Are we ready for this?
I'm ready. Yes, in unison.
Indeed. This is the part of the show where Chris will be quieter than usual because we'll be going through the review of
chicken wings, actually. So I'm going to give the sound of my mastication will put people off. So I'm going to
this is where Chris is masturbating, eating chicken wings while we talk. Chris on mute.
Masturbating.
Yeah. Get that image in your head as you. Yeah. with his wasp-stung phallus, right?
21 herbs and spices, yeah. Rubbed in. No, nice one, please. Anyway, shut up and go on with it. I'm right there.
Right, so going on with the review, John. It started off yesterday, and of course we had Big Leopardstown meeting. We'll come to that last because that's the sort of best action really, and what we had to go through. And we're not going to bother with Ascot because it was generally shit. So we'll go to Haydock first of all, and we'll cover off a few there. What did you make of the performance from Denmark in the 225 race?
I thought he completely cunted it.
Yeah, it was bad, wasn't it? It was one of the old... If you could do a commentary for a horse, what he's actually thinking, and you could put it in subtitles underneath as you're replaying the video back. He's saying to James Doyle, fuck you. Like... Fuck you again. Don't hit me one more time. I'll just fucking hang into other horse. And if you do it again, I'll just fucking stop.
I think it solved the question as to why Ryan was looking after him in the Melrose.
I think you're right, John.
If he probably got stuck into him, he might have ended up in the middle of the track.
Yeah. On the twig hopping course. I mean, you look at it on Friday and thought, yeah, do you know what? He's right there. Like Ryan just eased off as if just that when he knew he couldn't get near it. Well, like last 80 yards or so, and he thought, just ease off nicely. But I think that, like you said, John, that kind of explains why Ryan didn't go all in. Maybe Ryan knew because he'd been told by the lads that this horse might fucking end up in fucking... I mean, we always knew he were buzzy beforehand and stuff like that, and they had problems with it at home for being a bit of a lad, but I didn't expect to see...
He's more of a lad than the lads, isn't he?
Yes, yeah. He's the type of horse, John, like Sublimity did with you, to take a massive chunk out of someone while they're just not looking,
Yes, it can happen.
And then say, it wasn't me.
Yeah, it would.
A bastard. Your pain in the Old Borough Cup with KS Chorister.
Yes.
We'll felt your pain in that.
Yeah, I mean, it was all over, wasn't it, really? And then the shirt gets on to grow a leg. Hadn't really looked up to the job all year, had he, post-impressionist, but he's come good in style yesterday, I'm afraid, for backers of me and Sergeant Wilson. We've copped one there, haven't we?
Yeah, you definitely did. And that's the way it goes sometimes. It was a good choice. Unfortunately, it just wasn't to be. So the 3:35 race was obviously the big sprint. And there's some long faces. The blogger was long face. Obviously, he backed it. All the sort of fav punters that like, and especially the ones cheering, like you said on Friday night show, a horse that the public can get behind, a smaller trainer. We don't think they're small trainers. It's just the fact that they haven't had the tackle to go to war with, and yet they've got one here in Shaquille that, potentially was on the verge of dominating the sprinting division, and then runs a race full of no promise. What do you make of it all?
I think they've got a virus.
You reckon?
Yeah. Because that was a virusy type run. He emptied out very quickly there. That was a sick horse, I think.
Yeah, because someone jokingly said, "Oh, it's because he's broke too well. That's why he's ran so flat." But then the thing is, if you look at the one where he beat Desert Cop, he was in front there, wasn't he, in the listed race at Newbury?
He was not far right in that. It's a lot of bollocks, all this about the start and that. I mean, he was just a sick horse yesterday. The other one stopped as I'd been shot. I know he did quarter-hour fractions and was entitled to stop, but he stopped more than he should have stopped, if you know what I mean.
Could you label it though, right? And I'm going to be quite harsh here, and you'll just probably say this is bollocks as well, John. But I don't mind discussing it. Can you say though that this is maybe the difference between smaller yards and bigger yards in terms of
the bigger yard would have got it there, even though they've got something in the yard.
It just seems like that. It's like, I mean, having horses.
Maybe find it's easier to isolate. They've got bigger premises.
Yeah. It's like having horses with Brian Ellison for years. He always felt that if his horses weren't right and weren't running well, they all weren't. And that's it. Whereas you always think that the bigger yards, like sort of, Towser and Auguste, the shirt, even though the shirt was having a sort of lean time this summer, he was still popping the winners in, weren't he? He was still popping a few in. And
the bigger yards that find it easy to whip the good ones away if there's something in the yard and whatever.
It could have been that.
You can't blame Camachos for that. They just hamstrung with the facilities that they've got,
There was a very good point made, and I thought this was an excellent from B.E. O'Neill, one of our listeners. Thank you for this. And he said regional has become the 9th Group 1 winner in the UK this season, rated 110 or less from 25 races. And Bert Doncaster has also commented and said, baffled at all the results this year. John, what do you make of it?
We've got a lot of shit running, haven't we, in Group 1s?
Well, is this a sign of the things to come? Is the best stock heading abroad?
Well, yeah, it is, isn't it? If you take Aiden's Raiders out, we're struggling to rustle up a rating half at the time, aren't we? There's going to be more of this unless we get sorted out, and there's not much sign of us getting sorted out.
No, this is a downward trend, and I don't see anything to arrest it. Prize money's not going to suddenly increase. No. Keep the best horses here. We're not going to get the best treatment for owners. There's just no. We may have got the most best heritage racing in the world in terms of history, unique tracks, and better than anywhere else in the world.
That's However, we have Admiral Rouse.
Yeah. Yeah, we shit wait for it. There we go. This is a sign, folks, of things to come, and it's not going to go any better. We love a doom and gloom shirt again. But what else can we say? This is where we're headed. And sadly, B.E. O'Neill makes an absolute fabulous point there, because I didn't know that. So thank you for pointing that out, because we love sort of viewers' questions of that ilk that adds things to the show. Right, Ireland then. Shall we go to Kempton? Shall we just mention sort of Baybridge? Yeah, we'll go to Baybridge. A bit of credit for Mr. Richmond on Friday's show, because obviously Baybridge went off a well-back favourite in the end, and we all agreed that this horse would win at Kempton. And he made some good points. I can't believe 8-1 still available for the Champion Stakes.
I availed myself for some 10s basically after the show on Friday. I thought, well, yeah, Andy's right. Fuck it.
Yeah. So 8-1's huge. I mean, especially given the fact that, God, you've got to be unlucky if you get to Champions Day and there's not any sort of soft in the description. You'd be absolutely horrified. I mean,
it's virtually unheard of at Ascot, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely grade A bet.
The only potential fly in the ointment, really, is if the daft twats decide to go for the Ark. Yeah. Which you'd hope they wouldn't.
Well, that's the thing, owner influence. But then again, Stout, I would say, would have the final call over any owner. I think that's the general rule of thumb there in the power stakes. So I think Stout will make the right choice. Going into the 210 Kempton, obviously a lowly race for us to review. A few of you have been on about the Pat Dobbs ride. I've watched it back about 3 times. I can honestly say that I think Cathab is ready for 9 or 10. I've always felt he was. They went a nice pace. There was no excuses on the fractions. The one thing I would say, if you watch it from the 4 to the 3, which is on the bend, watch Richard Kingscote make his move on Helm Rock, and Kethab was literally a length behind him at that point.
Yeah.
And watch Pat Dobbs sit and do nothing.
Yeah.
And that for me was the difference. Like, I'm not saying Kethab might not have won. It would have been tight, though. Kethab might have just got up. I don't know. But if Kethab literally just, Pat Dobbs follows Helm Rock through and pushes away on that bend instead of sat up like a turd. And then, of course, he's rowing away in the straight. He's outpaced anyway, which, if you know Kethab, that was always going to be the point. It's disappointing for us backers. Me and John were very confident on Friday's show, but it is one of them things. I think if Marquand had been in the saddle, I think we've possibly seen a different result, John, especially because fat Pat Dobbs put a pound over.
Fucking Jesus. He's not worth a £5 allowance, is he? Never mind a pound over.
You're £6 worse off. Well, I reckon that's why it was weak in the market, you know.
I honestly think around there.
Yeah. I mean, even Aaron the Cannon's giving up with Pat Dobbs. He can't be arsed with Pat Dobbs anymore. I mean, it's give up, Pat, please, for us all, for all our sakes. Join Joe Fanning in retirement queue. Anyway, right, we come to Leopardstown.
Getting, isn't it? Right.
Yeah, the old Champion Stakes Day. Plenty to talk about here, and we start with the KPMG Champions Juvenile, the Golden Fleece, for us oldies. Diego Velasquez was 8-15 favourite, and there's been a lot of sort of bones of contention about Shamey Heffernan on Capulet, John. So I'm going to let you have your analysis on that race.
However, people might think he wasn't out on the horse. He's got a ready-made excuse. I mean, it's coming there from a maiden, isn't it? You know? And either way, it's a horse for the future. So, if you owned it, you wouldn't want to see spots knocked off it.
No.
I thought the best horse won on the day. I didn't feel he could have knocked hell out of Capulet and won it. I thought it was probably the right result. I wouldn't say Diego Velasquez will always beat Capulet. I think Capulet might repay that kindness. I thought Atlantic Coast had maybe run up a little light as well on reflection. He's probably a little bit better than he showed there. Maybe he hasn't come out with his maiden all that good. But overall, I think you'd be satisfied-ish with Diego Velasquez without wishing to have a saver on him for your Derby and Guineas bets on the Monster.
Well, there's been a few. Bidders is one of them. That he said that basically that Capulet could have beaten it, and he didn't think Shamey was that hard on Capulet.
It's a moot point, you know. I think, you know, I wouldn't go to the wall arguing with anybody saying it couldn't have. But I think you've got to take into account it's his second run, and would you want spots knocking off it to win that if you think it's got a future? I
think they've gone a little bit too slow in that as well, because the time is slower than most of the. It was fast ground at the Leopardstown Saturday, no question. And I think Shamey's not gone possibly as quick as he could. If you look after the line, this is something I always say to form book punters. If you can watch the videos or watch the racing TV replays, because you get more of them, you get head-ons and you get more after the line stuff. And I always like to watch them after the line. Capulet was absolutely full of run after the line, literally just tanking down that hill. So I'm not saying I agree that Shamey was like deliberately like riding that to lose. Like we've seen that in some races. I would even suggest that Shamey has definitely done that for the lads in the past. So I'm not suggesting that, but I will suggest that Capulet another day might have beaten it. But it's one of them things. I think he went too slow anyway. But I think they're both useful colts anyway. So whatever. One's by. I mean, the one thing for certain, John, Magnier's, his bollocks will have been knocking, won't it? Yeah. You owned the winner, and the fucking second's also. He's obviously only the second, but the second's a justify. He'd have been rubbing herbs and spices into it last night, wasn't he? Absolutely. I mean. I'd like to sort of listen to both Magnier and Jerry Annan, and who sounds more excited after an O'Brien winner. You know,
Sounds like Ian Paisley. Fucking hell. Yeah.
I mean, what's gone on with Jerry Annan? I mean, this is just bizarre, isn't it? I mean, I know he's always been like that. He's got.
That sounded like somebody strangling a transvestite prostitute.
In Grimsby.
In Grimsby. Yeah.
Ella Fish as well. God damn it.
But yeah, I mean, so what has gone? I mean, Jerry Annan's commentaries again is coming up for a lot of criticism. I mean, what is all this? Like it sounds like he's. I mean, do you remember the first time I think he started doing it? He sounded like everyone said on Twitter, didn't they? As the commentator had a heart attack there. Like, you know, because he sounded.
Yeah, well, he went quiet. He went quiet, didn't he? Because someone went the wrong way.
Yeah. And
he had to recover it.
Yeah. I think his blood pressure must be through roof after the Champions Stakes, which we'll come to on in a bit. But yeah. So anyway, we'll come on to this very shortly. Tahira John first in the Matron had the run of the race.
It was expected, really.
Yeah, look, she's a very good filly. No knocking at all. She is. I love her. I think she isn't the biggest. She's not somebody physically you're waxing lyrical over, but she's got a serious engine and she just does what she needs to do. Again, another professional performance, run of the race. But I would say again, Meditate shaped well in fourth. Didn't get any kind of run really. I don't think the blinds made any difference to her. She just ran a race. She wouldn't have beaten Tahira anyway. She'd have been better placed, but she'd have been probably.
Where do you think next for Tahira then? QE2?
Well, it's interesting because I looked at her entries and I thought, has she got any like 10 furlong entries to sort of spice it up a bit? After all, she's bred. She can get 10 on pedigree.
We don't. Champion Stakes when we've got 10 to 1 Bear Bridge, do we?
No, we don't. She's in the Sun Chariot and she's in the QE2. Time frame wise, you'd probably say the Sun Chariot's a nice time frame, isn't it? From there, what we got 20 about 4 weeks from that. That's sort of because she had a break. She had a summer break. It's not like she's been kept busy throughout the summer. So you think
Chariot's at the Cesarewitch, mate?
I think so. Yeah, the Sun Chariot on the 7th. That would give her if they wanted the Breeders' Cup. But you see, I mean, if they wanted to go Breeders' Cup, say, she'd have to do the Sun Chariot, then Breeders' Cup. But people would say, well, she don't go on the quick ground, etc. But I don't think that's true because it was lightning quick at Leopardstown. So I think that's bollocks. Yeah, and she CU'd the Outer Cape Cross Mare, which is fast ground through and through, really, just because her sister wanted it pretty soft. Yeah. I just think it's awesome for courses. She's quite light. She's not a big filly. She's fast grounds, no problem. I would say if you're going to go Breeders' Cup, you go Sun Chariot. If you're not thinking anything about Breeders' Cup, then you just go QE2. That's what I'd say for that. We go on to the big burner contention race now. Lots of comments from you guys on this and regarding Auguste Rodin, etc. Me and John, I think all the pod, for what it's worth, on Friday were very against Auguste Rodin, and for obvious reasons. Egg on face time. I think there's a lot with egg on face that couldn't back Auguste Rodin. My own take on it was that the race was run exactly to suit. I thought the pace was set up lovely. I thought the ride was perfect from Ryan. Luxembourg was, can I say it, maybe used up a bit, kicked on a bit too soon in the straight and was a target for Auguste Rodin to run down. It went absolutely perfect for Auguste Rodin. If you backed it, there's no more to come. And some of the comments we've had from listeners, Neil Tolson, for example, says, what are the odds that Auguste Rodin runs again? As far as I can see, the only two options are Breeders' Cup Turf and Japan Cup. With his breeding and guaranteed to be on stallion duties next year, I would be odds against. John, thoughts on that?
Yeah, briefly discussed it on Twitter with Neil, and I rather stupidly thought you could still fill them full of Lasix in the Breeders' Cup, but apparently not. I think I'd be a little bit surprised if they ran him again. They certainly won't bring him back to Ascot, will they?
Not in a bog, and the way it ran at Ascot as well. So no, that's a no.
You couldn't see him flourishing in a rough house arc.
I think he's a very flattered horse, John, don't you? Mm-hmm. Like in terms of her ability.
Yeah.
Very flattered. I think some people might say that's very harsh. You know, you've won a derby, you've won the Irish derby, you've won an Irish champion. You know, some would say this guy's talking through his ring piece, which you're perfectly entitled to say that. Yeah, I'll accept that. But
it'll read well in next year's Colmar catalogue, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's how it reads. So fair play on that. But let's talk about you hard luck stories and stories in behind. Obviously, plenty of comments about Luxembourg in terms of, you know, bidders have said, did he earn his riding fee more on Capulet or Luxembourg did Shermy?
They'll never sack him.
Well, exactly. He's a useful idiot, is Shermy. So he's by the way, just talking about Shermy, they say they've got one better than he says they've got one better than the City of Troy, John. That's bollocks.
Like you said, he's a useful idiot, isn't he?
Is that for the lads to get a prize?
For the lads to lay the shit out of one.
Right, so carrying on, the talk of the town was the third and fourth horses, really, which were Nashwa and King of Steel. King of Steel, John. Stotty, not a good weekend for the Stotty.
No, I have actually heard rumours from the colour from Leopardstown yesterday. The owner was not happy with the ride and was spouting off after the race. Now, personally, I think the owner's full of shit because I don't think Stotty could have got that any nearer if he got off and carried the fucking thing. In all honesty,
no, I'm in agreement.
Not even pace.
On sectionals there.
He asked it to go in plenty of time to get there if it had that turn of foot it showed in the derby. It didn't. The derby maybe lended itself a lot of that horse producing that turn of foot that day. This is probably run a bit of that sparkle out of him. And think on, he did have a hard race at Ascot where he proper emptied out. I don't think people realise the significance of that with these big horses. If you don't get to the bottom of them, it takes a long while to get them right back singing.
But doesn't that exemplify the new breed of mega wealthy owner that sort of arrives like a hurricane on the scene? And because they spend lots of money, they demand instant results, don't they? Whereas the more traditional mega wealthy people that, you know, try and build a bloodstock legacy, the Coolmores, you know, the Niarchoses, all those kind of people are a lot more sanguine in defeat because they understand that, you know, it's an inherently, uncertain endeavour, buying horses and racing them. But if you don't come from a racing background, fancy it, pile a load of money in, you want results, don't you? You're not interested in, they don't run on rails. So it's a different mindset. And I think that his response absolutely nails that kind of impatience that is inherent in a lot of these super wealthy people that make a load of money really quickly and demand results.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, Chris. I mean, it's a second-hand report that he wasn't happy after the race.
Yeah.
But for me, if I'd been, say, in the position of Roger Varian and the owner was melting off like that after that race, I'd have been sorely tempted to give him back my yap.
But they don't know, do they? What's the owner that he has with the yellow colour? Can't remember. Yellow colours, black.
Oh, yeah, he's a as well.
He's a guy like I run things on military lines. You know, I expect results, and it's a different mindset, isn't it? They're not interested in legacy. They're interested in, you know, I pay money, give me results. And, you know, that doesn't always sit well with the business of buying and running racehorses.
But honestly, I think if they get stuck into stuff over that ride, I think it's scandalous.
Ammo racing, like Chris says, sort of typifies the sort of demanding process of getting results. I suppose it's like it's sort of football owners that aren't like super rich and super wealthy.
Totally. That's a better example. Exactly like I've bought a football club, so, you know, I put a load of money in. So if I don't get Champions League football next season, you're all out, and that's it. And they feel that by applying that kind of rigor, or what they see as rigor of, you know, derived from other businesses, they can apply it to racing. And there are opportunities to do that, to make it a more efficient and cost-effective process. But at the end of the day, these are fucking animals, right? No matter what you do, how you train them, if they don't want to do it or they're not good enough, that's that.
No, I think it was a bit harsh if that was the case, John. That's the rumours. I've watched it back several times and people say, what are you watching it back several times for? Just in case I don't fucking miss anything. I'm getting older. I didn't used to. I used to watch a race back once and think, oh, yeah, I've got it. Yeah, I understand. But now I often watch them a lot more because whether it's age, I don't know. I just want to make sure that the opinion is like cast iron. I need me chums and a Shackleton's eye-seat chair these days. Anyway, moving on to Nashua. Again, a lot of people moaning at the ride Ollie gave and this, that, and the other. Plenty to do. Can't come from there, etc., etc. The one thing I'm going to say in defence, and again, we as a podcast, we do like bashing if we think it's just the fractions that she did from the 4 to the 1 pole will suggest to people that Holly's fucked up. No, connections have fucked up. John and Thady should stop watching Tipping Point, and basically they've made a mistake with this mare throughout her career. This mare should simply be running at a mile. A sectional suggests that. She's had 2 runs at a mile. She's won a Falmouth by 5 lengths, and she won Novice by 6.5 from a future Group 2 runner. Right? This is they fucked it up trying to turn into an Oaks filly and thought, oh, she didn't get the 12. Let's step her back to 10. She gets away with it at 10 against shit, but she can't compete with the top level of shit. If Holly rides Nashua handier over 10, I guarantee you she flattens out. Guarantee you. 100%. And she's probably keener in the process as well, because like John says, Ollie not the best at settling them. Over the mile, they're the perfect combination because they go in mile pace, which suits Nashua. And like you saw in the Falmouth, whether you view it as suspect form or not, she's still won a Falmouth by 5. And not many horses do that. That's where I'm at. Nashua's a miler. I see she's entered Nashua in the similar to Tahira. She's in this. I mean, the idiots have got her in the Arc de Triomphe. I mean, that's a waste of an entry. They've wasted Imad Al-Sagar's cash in the Arc. That's cash burnt. She's in the Sun Chariot. She's in the QE2. Forget the Champion, because that's going to be soft ground as well. John, which would you own Nashua, Sun Chariot or QE2? Where are you going?
QE2 all day.
And it's 6-1 QE2. That could be the race for Nashua. I would be very keen to support that mare in that. I think each way a pleasure, 6-1 each way a pleasure. If I knew she was definitely going for that, that's where I'd be. That's where my cash should be. So yeah, I think that's where we sort of cover the champions. Okay, so we'll move on to Sunday, just to clarify a few Sunday races off. Curragh today, that was all. And it was some very good action in Ireland. The ground had changed and people have said, has it been overwatered? I don't really think so, no. I think they did have some quite heavy showers prior to racing, and I think that basically what fucked it up. That's the only reason. We got some strange results there though today, John.
Yeah, there's some little oddball things, aren't there, going on? These things are sent to fuck us up.
Well, yeah, I mean, so we'll just do a couple of races that I thought were most interesting. We'll do we'll do the Moyglare Stud, the 325 race. Forget Moss Tucker and the Daft Sprinters. I mean, obviously a lot disappointed in that, but weren't you surprised with Arfield Princess going for that? I think she's been quite busy. I mean, I know she were last year, but busy again. Just
she ran like a horse that's ready for the sheds after.
Yeah, a bit very flat, and that sort of like scuppers them now at Breeders' Cup, done it? Because they're thinking, well, do we go back over there again? Because you
wouldn't have any enthusiasm for going, would you?
Not really. So that sums that up, really. 325, the Curragh then. Your one that I liked, well, Vespertilio ran a belter. I felt, again, ran into a very game sort as well in Fallen Angel.
Well, I know Albert, 2-year-olds. They maintain him, aren't they?
You know, I thought I was incredibly genuine. You know, we always talk about fillies, and I always like a filly that wants it, as do most fellas.
Tracking Rad from Danny Tudor. Pains not to sound like Jimmy Lindley. I don't think he's ever ridden better than he has this year.
He has. He's ridden very well. And I've been a critic of him in the past because sometimes I don't think he rides as though he's switched on, but he's riding more switched on at the moment. He seems to be in the right place at the right time. What did you make of the Brazilian trade runners finishing 3rd and 4th in the old Natural Stakes? They fucked up there, didn't they?
Whoever's had any of them tactics, well, that was disastrous, wasn't it? Absolutely disastrous.
It'll be Sylvester de Souza behind the scenes.
It could, because it stank of still, didn't it, really?
At Beverley.
Yeah, you know, when you've got a horse going up in trip against a 7 furlong winner. So what do? Let's tee the
blast off
and see if we can break 10 seconds for a furlong mid-race.
As Peter Robinson says, could this spell the end for the Stott and Kia Durabtron partnership?
If the rumour I had from yesterday was true, this could put the tin hat on it, couldn't it?
It could.
And in all honesty, Stott hasn't come up with this plan, has he?
No.
He's on the wrong end of it again, poor bastard.
Yeah, this is the Brazilian plan. Ride like lunatics. Follow at pace. Yeah.
What?
This is... It's a bit of alcohol kicking in. Anyway,
I thought it was one of the Rambands closing in.
I thought it was Jerry Hanlon there for a minute. He cut in. Fucking hell! So where we? This is the right point.
No, anyway, Pete Robinson goes on to say that he's had no wins in his last 27 rides and 9 wins from his last 100 as old Stotty.
Yeah. No wonder the poor bugger's riding for fucking nutters, isn't he?
I mean, it's not essentially his fault, but I mean, let's be honest. He's very moderate. He's a journeyman jockey, essentially, prior to his involvement with Megan Nichols, and by virtue of her obviously excellent networking skills and her profile, he can thank her for securing him a job for which he is, I think, manifestly unqualified. I think he's not a bad jockey, but he's a journeyman, isn't he?
Yeah, I'd go with that. Yeah, I think that's fair comment. I think if he's not met Megan Nichols, or because she's clearly got him was instrumental,
played a role in getting him the job by virtue of her connections, and she speaks well. She enjoys a good profile. So I think he'd be, it'd be rather unkind if he claimed that he got that purely because they saw him ride and thought he's the guy for us. So but fundamentally he's a journeyman. He's not a bad jockey, but you think, hang on a minute, you've got all this money and you've got all this expensive bloodstock, and you appoint Kevin Stott to ride them. I mean, come on,
John. What do you make of the withdrawal of City of Troy? Was that unsuitable ground reasons, or was that simply the Currers said to them, look, if you say City of Troy is a non-runner at 10 a.m., it's going to knock 3,000 off the gate?
I don't think it would, really.
Don't you think? Right,
no.
Right. Me and you lived in Dublin, right? We fancy a day's fucking racing. I know there's 4 Group 1s. Tell me the one you want to see the most.
The one I want to see the most would have been City of Troy, yes.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have stopped me going.
Fair enough. It might have done me.
That's a wrong answer, John. Go to the corner and think about what you
like. Because I'd have said, come on, fuck that. Get
Yeah, I mean, City of Troy was the star attraction. I mean, we've said it with Burt Race. I mean, this is what I'm saying. He's no one's look. All dues respected. Elderoff, a legend winner, Roger Variables, Kyprios after 6 years off.
I wish he'd run. I'd love to have seen what he did in last 7 fractions.
No, he might have beat Henry Longfellow by another 10.
I know.
Given that how fast they've gone, and when people say, "Oh, well, Henry Longfellow was very impressive," you've been very disrespectful. Well, Fallen Angel ran faster, by about 0.04 seconds, so it beats Henry Longfellow by a short head. So there you go. Right, on to further subjects. We've done racing review now. Bring Chris in more now because we're boring.
Finish my chicken wing
and your masturbation session. Right,
I finished. Spent now. Get on with it.
Yes. Let's start off on the boring bit on affordability. But no, I mean, just covering off this week, which most people have done really. Persad and Mottershead was very welcome, I thought, on ITV on Saturday morning. with the commentary there. Mottershead is stepping up to the plate in no uncertain terms, in my ideas, and this is important for the mainstream media. Yes, I agree with some that could this have not have happened a long time ago, but Mottershead is dealing with the facts that comes out of the meeting that took place with DCMS and ministers on Tuesday at the select committee hearing. So Mottershead is dealing with facts, and Mottershead is pulling them apart on those facts, which I like. I like people doing that. He's not subjectifying anything. He's looking at what they've said and said, look, that's not true, or that's inaccurate. And I like this. This is good journalism, and also it's not far-fetched stuff like listening to the bar stews at times. So it's kind of
it's a forensic analysis that it needs. The time has passed for sort of people saying, "Oh, isn't this awful?" Tackling civil liberties. I think people get that now. Now's the time for people like him to dismantle the arguments using facts, data. So I agree with you. He has stepped up quite well in the last sort of few weeks.
Yeah, and it sort of kind of made Tony Calvin look incredibly stupid, which isn't difficult. In certainly any time in a month. Tony came out and made a daft tweet, I felt, when he said that he criticised the Racing Post for their reaction to affordability and stuff. This is the same guy that tweeted on numerous occasions that he had never had any problem with producing his documentation for affordability checks, and he's only changed his mind recently when someone really hammered him on it and said, "Well, yeah, I've changed my mind since." Well, which is fine. Everyone's allowed to change their mind.
And that's wrong, good. But the point was, I think the original point was, if you've done nothing wrong and you've got nothing to hide, why wouldn't you produce your documents? Well, I think it's a very naive point, isn't it? Because it assumes that the people receiving the documents are going to be treating them in a secure and responsible manner, and we know. Not just in racing, but data breach cases are bread and butter for lawyers all around the world. Because
and believe me, Chris, believe me, this is going to happen in spades. Once they finish with the Burts in Dover and there's nothing else to chase for a bit, they will come for this, because the amount of bank statements being sent. I mean, Mottershead pulled them up on frictionless affordability checks when it can't be frictionless, because if you do an advanced check, you can't work out somebody's affordability just judged on a bank check. You've basically got to have statements, pay slips, etc. Yeah. We all know this is going to breach data protection rules. It just does.
Because they're just not very good. Even the biggest corporations in the world, the Googles of this world, the Amazons, all of that. They will make mistakes. They just do. They're just not very good at maintaining data. Even law enforcement agencies are rubbish at it, because it involves lots of human beings and, people don't talk to each other. So I guarantee you there'll be some future litigation on that.
Yeah. And I mean, Tuesday's meeting highlighted how clueless they all did look. And that, I suppose in some ways, that was the only positive thing I took from it. I was sort of very downhearted and despondent at the level of conversation between ministers and the gambling regulator, the Gambling Commission. I expected a lot more like what we produce, like data and reliable facts. A lot of what they were saying was just hearsay, or even indeed they hadn't even done things like impact assessments. They hadn't a clue on what it would do.
They are simply positioning the cannons that other people have provided for them. The messages come down from on high. This is what we want to happen. And all they are doing is implementing the plans of their masters. They don't need to worry about data or support because they've been told to do it. That's it. So they're not good faith actors. They're not looking to assess what the degree of social harm caused by gambling and to ensure that the measures accurately reflect that risk. They're saying we want to get rid of gambling. We want to make it really difficult for anyone to have a bet that's more than a tenner. So there you go. And his attitude, Rose, was, well, if you don't like it, go and talk to the fucking government. We're here to do a job.
I think as well, Andrew Rowe's assessment of the black market was interesting. That he actually said that he'd not heard of it's overplayed as like. Yeah, because he doesn't understand. He doesn't know. And his argument to that was, well, I haven't had anyone come in to tell me.
No.
It doesn't exist then.
But that's almost a legit response from his. He's there. You tell me what to do. If you come in and tell me that the black market is a massive problem and we need to dial down, the vigor or the severity of the checks, then I'll do it. He is a tool of the state. And that's it. And he's an administrator, a manager, a bureaucrat. He's not interested in the grand vision. He's there to implement the policies of people above him. So I think that was an honest reply. Yeah, no one's coming and tell me. You tell me, so I'll do something different. I'll do what I'm told to do.
Yeah, and the subjectivity of our show is one question, for example, is how are all the whale VIPs, i.e. the big fruit machine bettors and the big casino bettors, why have they ended up on black market mailing lists? You know, if the black market's not big, how have they ended up on black market mailing lists? Right. So, that other question should, if you're a detective and a good detective or a police detective, that also should lead you on to say, well, if that's the case then, and black market have got hold of whale VIPs from not legitimate UK gambling accounts, who owns the black market sites?
It's a good point, isn't it?
We don't know.
That's the whole question.
Do the big corp own black market sites? That's another question. Who would own black market sites in the first place? Is it some random Chinaman, random Asian fellow, random American fellow? Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll set up a casino online. I'll get a Curacao gambling license.
It's like the CIA, isn't it? The CIA have had a track record over the years in different arenas of, seeding and financing front companies to enable them to continue in their operations overseas, which they were prohibited from doing so by Congress. The fact that we're no longer allowed to kill people. They said, okay, so they funneled money to third-party sources. So why wouldn't bookmakers have an interest in it?
It's a perfectly legitimate description of what could be happening in that. So what you've got here is black market have got email addresses of big whale VIPs. That is fact. This isn't subjective. It's fact, right? How have they got that? We don't know, right? But someone must have leaked it from these big corp. If someone's leaked it, why would they leak it? Secondly, it boils down to then who owns these black market sites, because then that would explain, like you've just said, that they are then exploiting the people they've been exploiting, but under no regulation whatsoever, and carried on to do so. And I'm sorry, but that's a fact of life. And this is something that is annoying, and this is going to affect normal people for protecting no one in the end. No, it will protect no one. And this is a very sad state of affairs. That's the usual affordability section. It's Bar Steward's exclusive before question time. Sophie Leech, trainer, bankrupts. Yes, bankrupt. Owes HMRC £250,000. The transport company £25,000. Trade debtors £35,000 plus. The one question that needs to be asked on this for me, though, and why is this not in the public domain? Have they informed their owners? Have the BHA taken action? For example, in football, you go into administration, you get penalties, do you not? Points, deductions, fines. How do the BHA allow this to happen and carry on making entries? The BHA really, why is this an under the carpet job? I mean, are the BHA deliberately allowing small trainers to go to the wall? I don't know. It's just weird. I can't read the whole BHA situation. A trainer's gone bankrupt. I'm not making fun of that, or I think it's rubbish if people lose their jobs or livelihood. I'm not making rubbish to Sophie Leech going bankrupt. I'm saying the scandal has to be. Why is there no action by the BHA? There's nothing to stop me ringing Sophie Leech up and saying, can I have runners? She's still a licensed trainer. Can I buy a horse and send it to you?
It's inconceivable that they aren't in dialogue with her. I'm not sort of defending the BHA. I'd be amazed if they weren't aware and that they aren't perhaps discussing with her what plans there are, maybe to transfer the training business to another entity. I mean, because obviously bankruptcy is complicated. So I'd be astonished if they weren't. But perhaps the BHA, if they're bored and listening to this, can come and tell us. Because I'm sure they are, but tell us what they're doing, or in broad terms that they know about it and that measures are being taken to ensure the either continuation of her business or some other structure being set up.
Well, I mean, for example, the yard is up for sale under Windsor Clive International, Tudor Racing Stables, right. Elton Westbury on 7.
I might fucking buy it.
£850,000. Any bars?
Credit? Is there credit? Will they give me credit for like 10 years? Do you think?
Any Bar Stewards listeners, you can stick us all in there. We'll all live in there, the lot of us, and it'll be a madhouse, and we'll train your horses as well.
I'll have the end box, I think. That'll do me. Fucking warm bedding, not a bit of straw, lovely. That'll do.
It could be the bar steward's house. We'd rename it as that. So, and that's it. You get us going as a training establishment. Cage option. We'll stick a couple of Brazilians in with us, and we'll be away. We'll be running that yard like clockwork.
Brazilian fucking strippers, more like.
John, what was that? Stick a couple of birds in.
Yeah,
Brazilians.
Yeah.
Oh, Brazil.
Yeah, no trainers, Brazilian birds. Yeah. Well, we thought you meant trainers. No, we never said shit about trainers, mate. Yeah. Where's our 800 grand gone? Oh, we gone bang. and rinse and repeat.
Absolutely. So there we go. Poor Sophie Leech. Anyway, I wasn't making fun. I didn't want to make it sound like that. I just felt that it's one of them that I don't know. I mean, should that reach the public domain? It's a licensed trainer. I think it probably should by now. Don't know why it hasn't, but then our media useless maybe in reporting it. Interesting case regarding Bernard Colossus of Colossus Bets. I found this quite interesting. That a bet he placed I think it was last year at the Champions meeting at Royal Ascot, but he was Ascot anyway. He bet with an on-course bookmaker with the Hamiltons. Neil and Christine.
Yeah,
they're cheering now. Fucking hell, fired.
Right. So anyway, so poor old Bernard. Either whether he's pissed up, whatever. He lost his slip. 2,600 quid worth of winnings. Anyway, he later found it. It was in one of his other. He must have got 48 pockets in his coat. The man with many pockets.
You remember he had suits.
Anyway, he's found his slip, but the Hamiltons refused to pay out because they said they paid it out that day, the slip. So he said, well, that's impossible because I've got the slip. So he took it to court. He took it to court, and the court refused to rule on the case.
Ooh. Did they say why? What jurisdiction or like?
I don't know much about the case, but it's just basically Twitter speak while I'm picking up, and it was so basically Bernard's still out of pocket by 2,600 quid. So why have the Hamiltons just been bent on that and just went, oh yeah, we've paid it out, mate. Sorry.
Well, he might have been spouting off to people saying, fucking hell, got 2,600 standing, I've lost my fucking slip. So some sharp bastard that he's been spouting to might have gone in the shop and said, I have a bet there standing for 2,006, but I've lost my slip. Can I fill the details in?
Yeah, could be, couldn't it? When did you place it roughly? What time?
Yeah.
You got that information? Kaboom.
I don't know what to say on that because I weren't there. Don't know
it's a
the
funny thing, isn't it?
It is, but obviously, poor old Bernard. You can't feel sorry for Bernard. The man's got fucking plenty. Fuck Bernard.
Right, I don't really know him. Has he got plenty?
He has. He's got plenty of Bernard. Yeah, fuck him. Yeah, absolutely.
You can't not have plenty with a name like Colossus, can you?
Colossus Bets. Yeah, Bernard Colossus.
Brain skinny, you call Colossus.
No, his real name is Bernard Marantelli or Maratelli.
Colossus Bets. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, Colossus Bets.
Yeah,
I always call him Bernard Colossus. He thinks I'm an idiot as well, so at least he's right on.
Judge then, isn't he?
At least.
Good old Bernard. Fucking sharp. Warm cookie he is.
I was just about to say, at least he's just an attack on some things. On some questions. Let's get down your questions because you love this bit. Keith Watson, Kent Chopper, owns an helicopter, obviously. Racing appears to breed greed. Who is the greediest in the game, John?
Make used to be.
I knew he said that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't be. That's the only right answer, isn't it? That's the textbook answer. It's got to be.
I don't even need a choice or far.
John, give me an answer. Why?
Because he's proper fucking greedy.
He likes stuff and not spending.
If he can get it for nought, even if you don't want it, he'll have it, and that's top and bottom of him. He's had people sending him stuff because of that Facebook page he does where he does the videos. Yeah. Blokes from America, he looks fucking skint. Everyone's sending him lumps of bloody ham and stuff.
Thank you very much, yeah. Very kind, yeah.
I'm waiting for Lucky going in and redecorating his fucking kitchen for him.
Yeah,
do you know what?
Well, no
John,
shame.
only thing is, I know how much you think of Jo Mason as a jockey, and she loves her granddad. So I hope she doesn't listen to this, John. You slagging off her granddad.
She knows what he's like.
Well, there you go.
It's an IOU for a birthday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Another funny question here from Sam Carter. Can you discuss Mr. Luck, chaps? A face of racing now, in bed with the Saudis, the boys in blue, the American Dukes up dirt horses, and now Keir Jarabchin. Is he just a cunt?
Oh.
Nick, look.
I've met him a couple of times. I would say my impression is he's not a cunt.
Fucking
but
say what you think.
Before all this kicked in, you know, it can turn people, can't
He's too smooth for my liking. I don't trust the hair, right? That fucking hairline, that's got to be painted on. I think he's too smooth. Another public school boy.
Is he feathering the nest a la, you know, like a la Tomo stage now? He's coming towards.
No, he couldn't be.
Is he start to feather nest time?
Posh Tomo, isn't he? Posh. Nah, he's a posh Tomo. Honestly.
Yeah.
I think he's still got the interest at the game at heart, actually.
Why has ITV never wanted him?
Well, I don't know. ITV never wanted us either, did they?
Oh, yeah, there is that.
Yeah.
No, not me, Nick. Yeah, I'm with the correspondent. I don't like him, too syrupy. No.
Yes. So just touching on like sort of like ITV folk and racing media folk. Leona Mayer did a tweet earlier this week and it obviously came in for plenty of attack regarding prices to get into race meeting. She said they were value for money, and obviously the racing Twitter absolutely, well, I won't say launched into a some were supporting, some not. Thoughts on that?
I didn't see the tweet.
I responded, and my response was, well, it's easy to say we don't fucking pay to get in. I mean, it's always great value when you get a free meal and you don't pay. You know,
no, but she said if she didn't work, she would pay the prices. No problem.
I'd all say that if my auntie had a pair of bollocks, she'd be my uncle. Anyone can say that, but when you don't have to do it, it's easy to say, isn't it? It's like the people. I think it was like what's the young lady that works for Godolphin now? It was a jockey, and she was saying, "Oh, look at the number of people at Wolverhampton for the racing league. You know, you've got to get behind it. You're all such negative people." And people point out to her, "Yeah, well, half the tickets were given away for fuck all. So of course, it's going to be rammed. You know, these people.
You said there, Lee, she'd pay if she wasn't working in racing.
Bullshit.
What do you think she'd be doing if she wasn't working in racing? Because that's key to whether she'd be able to pay on it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very, very good point. You know, it's easy to say, oh, well, you know, if I had to pay, I would.
Yeah, you know.
Go on, then pay.
If I wasn't working in racing, whatever else I was doing, I'd still be earning 100 grand plus.
Bollocks. It's just it's for clicks, it's for likes. We get the sort of fat old sad. I'm going, oh, you look gorgeous, babe. Yeah, I agree with you. Fucking losers. Do you know what I mean? It makes me really cross.
I know what you're saying with that bit. But what else? I mean, I've got to declare my interest here. I mean, obviously, I'm a personal friend of Leona Mayer, so
okay.
I have to declare my.
No.
I know.
He's led us, John. He's done us, honestly. No.
Listen, I'm declaring that I'm a personal friend. That's all I'm doing. Listen before. So I am just declaring. So that if people call me out afterwards and say, well, you know, that I am declaring that I am a personal friend of Leona Mayer. Right. What she actually said was factually correct in that the price to get into racecourses is not an issue. The issue is what comes after it. But like she says, you don't have to fucking buy a pint and a burger, or fucking you know, you can make the family starve all afternoon. You know.
Well, you could, but you could also dig under the fence, couldn't you? And pay. Yeah. You could get in, you bluff your way in. I think the point is that when people talk about the cost of going racing, it's implicit in that phrase that it's not just the cost of entry, but it's the food and beverages around. So if you take that as read, it is an expensive day out. But my point is, if you don't pay to get in, everything's great. It's all free. It's fantastic. You know, stop bleating, get your money out. Well, what about you? Well, I don't have to pay. Well, there you go.
No. Look, we've as a show we've criticised the expense it would cost, say, for a family of four to. Like if you're not in the picnic enclosure, or there's not an option for a picnic, and you think, oh, we'll go racing, and it could be sort of, I don't know, £60 to £80 to get in for 4 of you.
Yeah.
Then you're talking, what you said, hot dogs, burgers, and then
that's just us though, isn't it? Like 9 burgers, 200 hot dogs.
Well, yeah. It's not the cheapest.
It's a dear day out, and I think my point is, it's not singling out the owner, mate, but all the other pundits will go, oh, I don't know why you're moaning. It's a great day out. Then fucking pay what Joe Punter has to pay, and then tell us whether it's great value or not. Because objectively, it's poor value.
Yep. Okay. All points taken on board there. What chances John Barnes is not the only one to owe the tax man? Frankie Skint. Harry Diamond, says Harry Listowel. Frankie and Listowel, obviously Listowel had their price. Frankie had his price, and he's not riding. What's this Frankie retirement thing anyway? Because I've heard rumours that he's going to get a big job in America anyway.
Well, interesting. You should say that. Yeah, it does. It's a bit like Frank Sinatra, isn't it? It's like, we need a bit of money. Let's have a farewell tour. Another one. It's something slightly hollow about it. I don't think anybody really believes this is going to be it for good, do they? I've never read anyone say they think this is a genuine retirement. It's more sort of a, one last farewell tour before the next one.
Well, same happened with Leicester with tax, man, John.
You see, I've never got this Frankie the breath of fresh air thing. And also his career, I've always thought he's a bloody good jockey.
Yeah, he's terrific.
As a personality, he gets right under my toenails. And if the whole flying dismount, kissing the camera, all that stopped overnight, I wouldn't give a shit.
No, nor me.
No, in all honesty.
No, I agree with that 200%.
I've never ever understood the appeal of it. No,
cringy, isn't it?
Yeah, I would imagine that this could run, and a job in America would not surprise me. Nor would a job in Hong Kong. Because if people cast their minds back to when he was at Luca Kamani's, he dropped his selling the shit at Luca Kamani's. He was off to Hong Kong for big money, and then Hong Kong decided because he got that drug thing under his belt, they weren't going to have it. So Hong Kong's been mooted before, and it wouldn't be the biggest shock if they relented now and had him.
It's a fair point. The rumours are the job was going to be possibly in California, but we'll see. I mean, this is early rumours, so I don't want to put this as a barsters thing, but the word is California.
I hope Stotty beats him to the job.
Good old Kev.
I hope the owner Maya beats him to the job. That's my opinion.
Yeah, let's hope Desert Crown goes out there on the old multi drugs, so he never breaks down. Bless him.
Bob Baffert, send them all to Bob. That's what.
Big silver-haired Bob. He'll get the horse going.
Lovely.
Right, Samuel the Cat's been on. Why does Matt Chapman have to be every jockey's friend? He's supposed to be an unbiased professional with zero connection to them, yet blows smoke at them. Giving them childish nicknames and never shuts up about saunas. How can he be critical if he is pals? I think simply, my answer to this, before I bring John and Chris in, is that I think certain presenters work out that if they're nice to racing media and nice to racing professionals, as in jockeys and traders, they get more interviews, they get more out of them, and they get more column space, then they get more limelight. And I think Chapman's worked this out rather well. What do you think, chaps?
John, sorry, I'm just having some more chips. John, do you want
John?
Right, sorry, Chris. Chapman's got his approach, hasn't he? It doesn't work with everyone in racing, does it, Sir Michael? In the main, he's quite successful with what he does, isn't he? He gets quite a lot out of people that you wouldn't expect, I think he's particularly good with the likes of Roger Chow. As Samuel the Cat points out, he does not find it easy to criticise these people.
He can't. But then again, who does? I mean, you saw it happen to Lydia. As soon as she got, especially if Lydia goes after the big wigs, which she did with Henderson, which she did with Mark Johnston. And I'm not calling Mark Johnston a big wig, but this is the thing.
The big knob, isn't he?
You can upset people very easily in this game. I could imagine. Do you know what I think you could upset really badly, but no one dares go after him? Rafe Ralph.
Yeah. He could be a nasty bastard, I reckon.
Yeah, I can see it in his eyes. He's something he wants to tell me. I see it in his eyes.
He's got that look, hasn't he? If you ask him something, he'll give that little pause, look you up and down and think, oh, God, I have to deal with the likes of you. You know?
Yeah. Like, I reckon if you really upset him and start off by saying, Mr. Ralph Beckett, you know,
Ralph.
At the start of 10, you know, and then carry on giving it, and say, well, Ralph, your runners aren't running very well at the moment.
Yeah.
Any reason, you know?
Couldn't it?
I can see that old soft demeanour where he pauses. He takes a long pause before an answer with a little smile, and he takes a long pause and says, well, yes, you know, and talks like that. That would turn into incandescent rage.
Yeah,
I'd love to see that.
Off, wouldn't they?
Ralph, do you think there's any reason why Ammo don't bother with you?
Yeah.
Ammo soon got, haven't they? But there must have been some fallout from that. Come on. Rafe Ralph should come on the show, but should do. He'd make good fun as a guest.
Yeah.
Stephen Thomas, good point. Peter Norton, Josh Arpiafe, notwithstanding, are there any racing TV Sky presenters or an analyst in line for an ITV call-up? How about the urbane and languid Tom Stanley? I agree. I think Tom Stanley's ITV bound, to be honest.
I agree with you. He's got the right profile, hasn't
he? Yeah, he's pretty good. You'd wonder where they'd place him. Team's in pretty tight, I would have thought.
Yeah, they all play kabaddi and dodgeball and fucking
kabaddi and just vests.
What's kabaddi? What's kabaddi?
You're on Trans World Sport on Channel 4, you know, like growing up days. Come on, Chris, you saw that all Indians. It's like dodgeball. It's like Indian dodgeball. You played dodgeball, didn't you?
Where do they play that? What countries?
India, right good at it. As in like leagues, India and Pakistan, like as in like right good at it. You know, like
I'm racist. I wouldn't know. I'm from South.
And Gemlin's put it all together, and that's his little twist that they play in just vests.
Yeah, that's it. Kabaddi would be good. That
I've learned something now. Kabaddi.
I mean, imagine launching one at like Chapman or something. You know, like in his Burt race. You know.
Is it like lacrosse? Is it similar to that? It's like lacrosse.
It's like where you've got to like get across. John, what is it? You've got to get across line to other end or something.
Yeah, and jump on the backs and all sorts. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. British Bulldog then, really, is
it? To rub your noses in the faces and all that.
I've totally forgot now I've mentioned it, but kabaddi was the big thing back then on Channel 4, 10 o'clock in the morning, Trans World Sport.
I remember Trans World Sport, yeah.
For one final question to finish the show, good shirt, action-packed, long shirt. This will suit Joel in his long bath this evening. Was Willie Carson the last good jockey to ride for Shadwell in England? From Helter Skelter. I love these two in. Was Willie Carson, was he the last? So John, come on, list off the Hamden jockeys in your lifetime, starting from the latest. Crowley.
Tom Marquand won one for him yesterday. So.
No. Retained, as in retained jockeys.
If we're on retained jockeys, then it was Hannigan before Slim Jim, wasn't it? We had Dane O'Neill as the backup.
Yeah.
And we've had
our Hills.
Yeah, our Hills, yeah.
It was backed up by Dane O'Neill.
Yeah.
And prior to our Hills, it was Carson.
Was Tony Murray retired by him? Was Tony Murray
was the original and still the best.
Yes, that was my pick. Was Tony Murray. I used to love Tony Murray, Harry Thompson-Jones, brilliant.
Yeah.
So there's the answer. Tony Murray and Harry Thompson-Jones. Was he better than Carson?
I liked him better. He was a nicer fella.
Yeah. Funny old style, but I liked Tony Murray. I thought he was class bloke. Mm.
Well, just to describe what a bastard Carson is, just before we finish, this is the story from the old Dunlop days, and Richard Hills was so generous with the Dunlop lads in the yard. He used to give them cash after Group 1 wins, drop champagne off at the yard, things like that for all the staff. Carson never gave them fuck all. And one day, the head lad came up to Carson after Shadday, he'd won the Sussex at Goodwood, And he said to Willie, he said, "Oh, the lads will be getting a few quid tonight. They'll be having a good party tonight, the lads, Willie." He says, "Yeah, you'll all have backed it, won't you?" It was 8-13.
Horrible bug.
What a shit house.
What? Well, typical Scotsman, right?
Yeah. Well, you're in Scotland, so be careful.
Oh, yeah. Language,
keep your voice down, for God's sake.
Yeah, we're live from Scotland tonight, aren't we?
Yeah, live from the Isle of Skye. Yes, we've even got internet up here, and it's done by a Rumpelstiltskin type. It's pedaling on his wheel at one end of the island to keep the show on the road. Back to normality next week, of course. Right, that's all from us, me, John and Chris. Had a good show. Bye for now.